Welcome, sleepy soul. I'm your storyteller tonight, here to help you drift into deep, peaceful sleep. Before we begin, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more bedtime stories. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. And if there's a story you'd like to hear next, I'd love to know that too. I never used to think of myself as someone who'd grow up afraid of silence. But after what happened that night, what I saw, what I heard, silence has been the one thing I can't handle. My name is Lena Rowe, but everyone back then just called me Len. I was 7 years old, small, nervous, always second-guessing myself, the kind of kid who apologized even when I didn't do anything wrong. I grew up in Cedar Brook, a quiet little town in southern Illinois, where nothing really happened except church potlucks, 4th of July parades, and kids riding rusty bikes down uneven sidewalks. There was one person in town who made me feel braver than I really was. Jenna Blythe. She was 9, tough as nails, wild as a kicked-over hornet's nest, and completely fearless. If someone messed with me, Jenna messed with them. She cussed, fought boys twice her size, climbed roofs, and once spray-painted "Bite Me" on the side of the elementary school dumpster. The teachers hated her. Kids adored her. Parents were scared of her. And for whatever reason, Jenna liked me. Maybe because I listened when she talked. Maybe because I followed her without asking questions. Maybe because she knew I was terrified of everything and liked being the brave one. Whatever the reason, I spent more time at her house than my own. That day, a Saturday in late July, it was supposed to be a normal sleepover. You know, popcorn, cartoons, leaning over the couch upside down until our heads tingled. Jenna's house sat at the end of Pine Ridge Drive, a beat-up single story with peeling blue paint, a mailbox that leaned like it had arthritis, and a backyard that looked like a junkyard someone forgot to finish building. Jenna's parents were always working weekends, and the neighborhood trusted itself too much. Doors left unlocked, windows open, doggy doors big enough for a grown man to slide through. Yeah, I still think about that. "Yo, you coming back or what?" Jenna yelled from the living room. I was standing in the kitchen, staring at the fridge like it might tell me what snacks we had permission to eat. My mom would have never let me raid someone else's house without asking, but Jenna didn't care. "Pick anything," she had said. "If it ain't nailed down, it's fair game." So I reached for a juice box, and that's when I heard it. A scratch, light, dry, too slow to be a branch in the wind, too deliberate to be chance. It came from the door that opened into the backyard, the bottom of the door, the doggy door, a little flap of plastic, faded and cracked around the edges from years of use by a dog Jenna no longer had. The flap moved, just a little at first, like something brushed against it. My first thought was, a raccoon, a stray cat, maybe a squirrel. But then the flap lifted, and a hand came through, a man's hand, thick fingers, greasy nails, pale skin smudged with dirt. Jenna?" I whispered, frozen, juice box still in my hand. The flap lifted higher, and then a head pushed through, not all the way, just enough to peek inside. Long brown hair hung down like wet roots. I couldn't see his face, only the top of his head, the way it tilted upward like he was trying to reach the doorknob. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't move, didn't blink, didn't think. I just ran, not screaming, not stumbling, just pure instinct, like a rabbit bolting for its hole. I sprinted back into the living room and practically slammed into Jenna. "Jesus, Len, you good? You look like you saw Bigfoot taking a dump." There's a man, Jenna. There's a man in your doggy door," I whispered, shaking so hard my voice cracked. Jenna narrowed her eyes at me. "Quit bullshitting. For real." "I'm serious," I cried. "He's trying to get in." Jenna huffed, like she had to do everything herself. "All right, show me." She grabbed my wrist and dragged me back toward the kitchen. He was still there, still reaching in, still fiddling with the doorknob. This time, his whole arm was inside, veins bulging as he tried to twist the knob he couldn't reach. His hair covered his face like a curtain. but I could see enough to know he was big. Too big to be bending down like that for innocent reasons. Jenna's mouth dropped open. For the first time ever, she looked scared. But then something changed. Her expression hardened, jaw clenched, eyes narrowed. "Okay," she whispered, her voice low and dangerous. "This dude picked the wrong house to crawl into." I tugged her shirt. "Jenna, we should call." "Nope. But we're gonna teach this creep not to mess with us," she whispered, smirking like she had a secret weapon. "We're little kids," I hissed. "We can't—" "Len," she said, looking at me with utter confidence. "Trust me. Just trust me, okay?" And like an idiot, I nodded. Because trusting Jenna was something I did without thinking. She bent down in front of the doggy door, sitting with her knees bent and both feet raised off the floor, like she was about to kickstart a motorcycle with her bare heels. "Soon as he pokes his head in," she whispered, "we punt him. Hard." I swallowed, bent my knees, lifted my feet next to hers. My legs trembled like wet noodles, but I tried. We waited. 20 seconds, maybe less. Felt like forever. Then, flap. The door lifted again, and the man pushed his head in. This time, we saw his face, and my entire world shattered. I can barely describe it without my stomach turning even now. At 7 years old, my brain didn't have the words for what I saw. I just knew something was wrong. Horribly, impossibly wrong. His skin. There wasn't any. Not on his cheeks, not on his nose, not around his mouth. Just raw red muscle exposed like something out of a butcher shop. Tendons, snaking blue veins, wet shine. The only normal part of him was the hair. He looked up at us, confused for a second, like he wasn't expecting two little girls, bare feet raised, faces twisted in fear. Then he smiled. And his teeth. Sharp, jagged. Too many. Like broken glass glued into gums. Jenna inhaled sharply. I started crying without making a sound. He leaned forward, mouth opening wider. Wider! Wider! And then he lunged. We screamed, kicked backward, fell onto our backs as his teeth snapped shut inches from where our feet had been. My breath left my lungs. I scrambled back. My hand slipped on the tile. Jenna pushed away with her elbows, eyes wide. The man yanked his head back through the flap, but not before his fingers shot in and grabbed Jenna's ankle. She shrieked. Her nails scratched at the floor. Her other leg flailed wildly. "Let go! Let go!" He opened his mouth again, aiming for her leg. And something inside me snapped. Not bravery, not courage, just raw terror. I jumped to my feet, grabbed the first thing I saw, a bowl of apples, and hurled them at the door. Hard. One apple hit his nose, or where his nose should have been. Another bounced off his chin. A third struck his forehead so hard he growled, like an animal. He released Jenna instantly and scrambled backwards out through the doggy door, his weird, wet breathing fading as he ran away across the yard. Silence returned, but it wasn't comforting. It was suffocating. Jenna sat shaking, both hands gripping her scraped ankle. I dropped to my knees beside her. "You okay?" I whispered. She nodded, but it wasn't a real nod, just a survival reflex. "Len, what the hell was that?" she whispered. "I don't know," I cried. Jenna, we gotta tell your mom." "No," she snapped, eyes going wide again. "No way. You know what she'll say? She'll say we're making it up, or we're stupid, or we're trying to get attention. But, do you want to get grounded for the rest of your life?" Of course I didn't. And she wasn't wrong. Jenna's mom always thought Jenna was lying, even when she wasn't. And the police? What were we gonna say? "Excuse me, officer. A man with no face tried to bite us through the doggy door." "Yeah, right." So we cleaned up the apples, straightened the floor mat, and sat in silence on the living room couch until her parents came home 2 hours later. We pretended like everything was normal, like we hadn't almost died, like we hadn't seen something impossible. I never slept over again. People think kids forget things, that they grow out of their fears. But I never forgot him. The face with no skin, the teeth like razors, the way he dragged Jenna like she weighed nothing. I told myself for years it was a mask, a prank, a costume. But no mask moves like real muscle. No plastic jaw snaps shut that fast. I kept quiet. Jenna kept quiet. We never talked about it again. Not until high school when I ran into her at a gas station, hair dyed black, boots scuffed to hell, eyes tired. "You ever think about that night?" I asked quietly while she paid for a soda. She froze, slowly turned toward me, and whispered, "Every damn day." She swallowed hard, voice trembling. "He wasn't wearing a mask, Len. I know he wasn't. I touched his skin. I felt it. It was warm." My stomach rolled. Jenna leaned in, whispering even lower. "Last week, I saw something online, a report, about a guy in southern Illinois breaking into homes through doggy doors." She paused. "Witnesses say he had injuries, said his face looked," she swallowed, "looked peeled." My hands shook. "Jenna, you don't think—" "I don't think," she whispered. "I know." She opened the gas station door to leave, but before stepping out, she turned back to me. "Len?" "Yeah. Check your doors at night." Her voice cracked, especially the bottom. She left without another word. I stood there frozen, the old childhood fear crawling back up my spine. Because silence isn't just quiet. Silence is a warning, a space where something waits, a place where breathing can hide. And every time I hear a soft scratch at the base of a door, my heart stops, because I know, somewhere out there, he's still crawling, still searching, still hungry. And doggy doors? They were made for letting things in, things that don't always belong inside. I still remember the way that night felt on my skin, like the air itself knew something I didn't. That's the thing about memory. It knows how to replay the exact temperature of dread. I had been nervous before I even left home, though I pretended I wasn't. I always pretended. My mom used to say I was too soft for my own good, but honestly, I think I just felt more than other people did. I felt the dark, the silence, the tension in other people's voices. All of it stuck to me like static. That night was supposed to be simple. A sleepover at my best friend's house. Just 3 girls, just talking, just laughing, just normal. But normal isn't something that ever stays with me for long. My name is Hallie, spelled like the comet, because my dad was obsessed with the night sky. He'd take me stargazing when I was little, telling me that darkness wasn't scary if you looked at what it contained. He said the dark only frightened people because they were too focused on what they couldn't see. But everything changed after he passed. The dark stopped being wonder. The dark went back to being a mouth that whispered. My mom, who now works night shifts as a home care nurse, tried to fill his space, but grief changes the sound of footsteps in a house. Our home got quieter, but the silence got louder. So when my friend Rena invited me for a sleepover at her place on the far end of River Pine Lane, I said yes. I needed distraction. I needed noise. I needed people. But what I got was something else entirely. My mom dropped me off around 9:52 p.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my phone twice, pretending I wasn't anxious. Her old Honda Civic sputtered as she parked beside the tall, rust-colored gate leading up to Rena's property. The place was bigger than anything I'd ever stepped into. Not mansion big, but definitely the kind of house that belonged to people who had fancy chairs they never sat in. "Text me if anything feels weird, okay?" my mom said, leaning over the passenger seat to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. I forced a smile. "Mom, it's a sleepover, not a crime scene." She exhaled through her nose, worried the way she always was. "You've had a rough year, Hallie. Don't push yourself." "I'll be fine," I promised. "It's just Rena and Lila." "Right," she nodded, though her eyes stayed hesitant. "Be good. And Don't overthink everything tonight, okay? I snorted. Me? Overthink? Never. But we both knew that was a lie. I climbed out of the car, slung my duffel bag over my shoulder and waved as she pulled away. Her taillights disappeared around the bend, swallowed by trees that rose like dark lungs on both sides of the long driveway. The metal gate creaked open when I stepped forward, like it had been expecting me. The wind shifted, brushing cold air across my arms. I rubbed them instinctively, feeling the night's weight settle on me. The driveway twisted upward toward the house. No lights outside, just the pale shimmer of the moon reflecting off the windows. And that's when I saw it, a silhouette in the downstairs window, still, watching me. I froze mid-step, breath stuck in my throat. "Rena," I called softly. The figure didn't move. I lifted my hand and gave a small wave. Awkward, uncertain. The figure stepped away from the window without responding. Something tightened in my chest. Not full fear, just unease, like the moment before a glass falls off a counter. Probably her dad, I whispered to myself. Or maybe her mom. Except Rena had told me earlier that week her parents weren't home. I shook off the thought. Lights turned on upstairs. The front door opened, and there was Rena smiling big and wide, wearing fuzzy red socks and an oversized hoodie. "Hallie," she squealed, hurrying forward. "Finally, girl, you took forever." "I got stuck behind a tractor," I laughed. "Like, an actual tractor." She rolled her eyes. "Welcome to South Carolina. We have mosquitoes, humidity, and farmers who drive 5 miles an hour. That should be the state motto." She grabbed my bag from my shoulder and nudged me inside. As soon as the door shut behind us, the whole house fell quiet. Thick quiet. The type that presses against your eardrums. "Is someone else here?" I asked casually. "I thought I saw—" "Nope," she cut in quickly. Too quickly. "Just us. My folks are out of town till tomorrow. You're safe, promise." Something about the way she said safe felt off, like it was a warning disguised as reassurance. But she was my best friend. She wouldn't lie. Right? The wooden stairs creaked under our feet as we climbed to the second floor. The hallway lights flickered when we reached the top. "Old wiring," Rena muttered. "Don't freak out." "Who, me?" I joked, nudging her. "I'm like the queen of not freaking out." She laughed. "Okay, liar." She pushed open the door to her room. Inside, Lila was sitting cross-legged on the bed, scrolling her phone with a bag of Doritos in her lap. "Aye, look who finally made it," she grinned. "Me," I said, tossing my hands up in triumph. The night has begun. We hugged, talked, gossiped, and made fun of our classmates with the kind of unfiltered honesty only high school girls have. Doritos, Pringles, Twizzlers, sodas, fruit gummies. A whole pile of junk food sat on the bed between us like a shrine to bad decisions. Rena turned on music, low enough not to echo through the house but loud enough to give the dark corners shape. For a couple hours, everything felt normal, real, alive. I forgot about the silhouette. I forgot about the quiet. I forgot about the strange heaviness of the house. That was the thing about friendship. It made the dark feel smaller, but eventually exhaustion crept in. One by one, the others fell asleep. I didn't. Too much soda, too many thoughts, too much dark. I tossed and turned, tried counting backward from 100, tried pretending I wasn't hearing every creak of the house settling. Finally, nature called in the least poetic way possible. I whispered, "Rena?" No response. "Lila?" Nothing. Great. I slipped out of the blankets and into the hallway. The house was so quiet I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. The moonlight poured in through the large windows lining the hall. For a moment it looked peaceful, silver and soft. But something about the woods outside didn't sit right. The trees were too still, like they were holding their breath. I started walking, humming under my breath to calm myself. Then I froze. because over my own voice I heard something faint, a whisper, very soft, very distant. "Come down." I blinked, heart thudding. Probably the house, probably the wind, probably me being dramatic. "Come down." The voice was clearer this time. A chill ran down my back. I rushed into the nearest door, luckily the bathroom, slammed it shut, and locked it so fast the metal clicked twice. My hands were trembling as I flipped the light on. "Get it together, Hallie," I whispered to myself in the mirror. "You're tired, that's all." I splashed water on my face and breathed slowly until my pulse settled. "Just go back to the room," I told myself. "Straight line. Don't look around. Don't listen." When I opened the bathroom door, the hallway felt colder, thinner, like the air had been stretched. I tried ignoring it, tried walking. 1 step, 2 steps. "Come down." The voice floated up again, clearer than before, not angry, not urgent, just inviting. I kept walking. The hallway stretched longer than it had earlier. Much longer. Something was wrong. "Okay," I whispered. "This isn't real. I'm tired. I'm imagining this." And then the moonlight went out. Complete darkness swallowed the hallway. I gasped, reaching out for the wall, but everything felt wrong. Farther. Disconnected. "Come down." The whisper was close now. Very close. I should have run. I should have screamed. But fear is strange. Sometimes it moves your feet for you. I walked. Toward the whisper. Toward the stairs that shouldn't have been there. Down. 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 I followed the voice into the dark. The downstairs hallway was colder than upstairs had been, like stepping into unfinished basement air. But this wasn't a basement. This was the main floor. "Come down. Come down." The voice wasn't ahead of me anymore. It was around me. I forced myself to keep moving until I reached a pair of double doors, heavy dark wood carved with patterns I couldn't make out in the dim light. My hand hesitated on the knob. "I shouldn't," I whispered. "I shouldn't be in here." But curiosity is a powerful, stupid force. I cracked the door open just enough to peek inside. The room smelled like old candles and something metallic. 2 shapes lay under the blankets on the bed. "Come closer." No. Nope. Absolutely not. But I stepped inside anyway. The whisper was coming from the bed, from the covered shapes. I crept forward, 1 shaky step at a time. The blankets rose in the faint outline of bodies lying still. My breath hitched. I grabbed the blanket corner. "Don't," I whispered to myself. I pulled. The blanket slipped off, and I stumbled backward so fast I nearly fell. 2 adults, blood, pale skin, eyes closed, dead. My brain couldn't process it fast enough. Those were Rena's parents, dead, in their own bed. I staggered back into the hallway, grabbing the wall for balance as bile climbed my throat. Then, "Hallie!" The voice behind me made my blood freeze. I turned slowly. Rena stood there, not smiling, not confused, just watching. "What are you doing down here?" she asked softly. Her tone was wrong, too calm, too practiced, like she'd rehearsed it. Behind her, Lila rubbed her eyes, sleepy and confused. "Dude, why are you downstairs?" I stammered. I thought I heard." They watched me, not moving, not blinking. Everything clicked at once. They planned this. They brought me here. They killed their parents. And now me. My throat tightened. My knees wobbled. But I forced a smile. "Actually," I said lightly, "I just wanted milk. Couldn't sleep." Rena tilted her head. "Milk?" "Yeah," I said. I figured it'd help me knock out. "Want to join?" A beat of silence. Then both girls smiled. "Sure," Rena said. "Let's all go." We walked to the kitchen together. I grabbed the milk. And something else. We poured 3 glasses. We clinked the rims. We drank. They never woke up again. Sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor when I opened my eyes. My neck ached from sleeping upright. Rena and Lila lay slumped across the table, unmoving. I wasn't proud of what I'd done, but survival twists your instincts into new shapes. I didn't cry. Not yet. Not until I walked back toward the double doors. I needed to say something to her parents, to apologize, to explain. But when I opened the bedroom, the bed was empty. The bloody bodies were gone. The bedding was clean. Pillows were arranged neatly where corpses had been. My mouth went dry. No. No, no, no. I backed away, hands shaking uncontrollably. Car tires crunched on the gravel outside. A voice called, "Kids, we're home." Rena's dad, alive. My stomach dropped. I looked at the empty bed, then at the hallway, then toward the kitchen where two girls would never open their eyes again. The whisper hadn't come from them. It had come from the house. The house wanted something. Not them. Me. I didn't grow up in some spooky old house or anything like that. I grew up in a regular neighborhood outside Riverside, California, where the biggest drama was who parked in whose spot or who left their trash cans out too long. Nothing supernatural, nothing creepy pasta, nothing that would prepare me for what happened later. So when people ask how I became the way I am, why I triple-check the locks, why I installed cameras in every corner, why I jump when someone knocks, I always go back to that stupid weekday afternoon. It started so normal. Back then, I was 26, working from home for a logistics company, doing route planning and customer support from the corner of my living room. I lived alone in a newly built apartment complex called Willow Ark Lofts, the type of place with polished floors, LED hall lights, and cheerful leasing agents who pretended to remember your name. And honestly, I was doing okay. My life wasn't thrilling, but it wasn't bad either. I was finally paying my own bills. I was finally living alone. I was finally feeling independent. I had no idea that independence could also mean vulnerability. It was around 1:17 p.m. I remember because my computer clock showed it right as I heard a sharp knock, knock, knock at the door. I froze in my rolling chair. Nobody came to my door. Like, ever. I didn't order anything. My landlord didn't schedule anything. And my friends never just showed up. Still, it was daytime. Bright, loud outside. Nothing scary about it. I stood, stretched my back, and walked to the door. But before I touched the handle, I leaned into the peephole. Two men, matching uniforms, maintenance-style work shirts in navy blue. One carried a toolbox. The other held a long rectangular box, the type that absolutely looked like a replacement air filter. They didn't look shady. They didn't look irritated. They looked bored, like men who do this 20 times a day. So I opened the door. "Afternoon," the one with the toolbox said. He had sandy hair, maybe mid-30s, tired eyes. "We're doing routine filter changes. Won't take more than a couple minutes." His partner, a taller guy with a shaved head and slight southern accent, added, "Won't even know we're here." I blinked. I didn't get an email about that." "Yeah, our system was glitching earlier," the tall one said. "Been throwing off the schedule all week." He sounded annoyed in a real way, like someone frustrated with his job. The sandy-haired one lifted his box. "Just the routine swap out, your Unit 3B, right?" "Yeah. Cool. Mind if we..." He gestured past me. And this part still haunts me sometimes. Not because of what I did, but how normal I felt doing it. I stepped aside. "Yeah, come in. The filter is in the bedroom closet." "Perfect. Thank you," he said, nodding politely. They walked in like they'd been here 100 times. I went back to my desk, and that may have been the biggest mistake of my life. They were only in my bedroom for maybe 40 seconds. I could hear the closet door open, a few faint rustling sounds, quick footsteps. Then the apartment door opened. "All right, you're all set?" the sandy-haired guy called out. "Thanks," I said without turning around. The door shut, I didn't hear two sets of footsteps, but I told myself I must have missed it. I locked the door a minute later, like I usually did. Not because I felt scared, just because it was a habit. And then I worked. 4 more hours, typing, emails, calls, no weird noises, no uneasy gut feeling, nothing. If anything, the day felt boring, which made what came next feel like getting hit by a truck. At 5 p.m., I shut my laptop and leaned back. I remember saying out loud, "Finally." I didn't want to cook, didn't want to go anywhere, so I did a few quick chores. Cleaned a mug, straightened some papers, and then grabbed my trash bag. The trash chute was at the end of the hallway. A 30-second walk max. I slipped into my sandals, unlocked my door, stepped out, and pulled it shut behind me. I walked down the hall, humming to myself, tossed the bag, wiped my hands on my shorts, and headed back. My entire trip took 65 seconds. Tops. 65 seconds was all it took for everything to go sideways. I put my key in the lock, turned it, opened the door, and froze. There was a man inside my apartment. Not the two from earlier, a different guy. Younger, maybe late 20s, dark hair, scruffy jaw, wearing a faded maroon hoodie. He stood dead center in my living room like he'd just been caught stealing cookies from a jar. His eyes snapped to me. My whole body went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't speak. I don't even think I breathed. He blinked at me, shocked, like he couldn't believe I was there. "Shit," he whispered under his breath. Something primal kicked in. I stepped back, and then I walked out. Not ran, walked, because it was like my brain refused to accept what I saw. I stared at the apartment number, 3B, my apartment. I wasn't imagining this. I swallowed dryly, reached out, and pushed the door open again. Just a crack. He was gone from the living room. But I heard something. Thump, scramble, shuffle. He had run deeper into my apartment. A stranger was in my home, running around inside it right now. My knees nearly buckled. I backed away hard, heart punching my ribs. Then I bolted down the stairwell to the lobby. I didn't even walk to the front desk. I crouched behind a small ficus plant in the lobby like a terrified child and called 911. My voice trembled. Hi, I need police. There's someone in my apartment, a stranger. He was inside when I came back. Please hurry." The dispatcher kept me calm, or tried to. "Is he still inside your unit, ma'am?" I don't know. Yes, he's somewhere in there. Please. The officers came in less than 5 minutes, 2 of them. Older, calm, not surprised, like break-ins were a routine Tuesday problem. They escorted me upstairs and told me to stay behind them as they entered. They cleared every room, every closet, every corner. One officer checked the bedroom closet and called out, "Nothing, he's long gone." And that sentence, that tone, that specific wording, it hit me like a punch. Long gone. Meaning he had been there long enough to leave without us noticing, without making noise, without leaving anything behind. One officer came out holding his notebook. "Ma'am, did you let anyone into your apartment today?" My throat tightened. Yes. 2 maintenance men came to change my air filter. The second officer's eyes sharpened. What did they look like? I described them. He exchanged a look with his partner. "There are no maintenance orders scheduled today," he said, "and the building only has 1 maintenance worker on staff." My stomach dropped. "So, who were they?" I whispered. The officer sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "We've had some reports in nearby complexes, fake maintenance teams. They talk their way inside, scope the place, and leave someone behind to steal valuables once the tenant steps out." My head spun. So the man I saw, he was hiding here the whole time? "For hours," the second officer confirmed quietly. "He waited for you to leave. Probably thought you were going out for the evening." My breath shook violently, but I was only gone for a minute. "And you surprised him? That probably saved you from something worse." I felt my knees weaken. The officer steadied me by the arm. You did the right thing calling us." I nodded, but barely felt present. In my head, all I could see was that man, standing in my living room, waiting, listening, breathing in my space. He had been behind my walls the entire time I sat working, completely unaware. I felt violated in a way I can't describe. A week later, the police caught all three men, the fake maintenance worker, his partner, and the guy who hid inside my closet. They had been hitting apartment complexes up and down the state, always using the same trick. People let them in because they looked normal, professional, bored, human. And that's the part that sticks with me the most. They didn't break in. I opened the door. I let the danger walk right inside. After everything, my leasing office apologized. They upgraded the locks, added extra cameras, changed security protocols. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Not to the building, to me. Because once you learn how easy it is for someone to slide into your life, hide in your space, and wait for the perfect moment, you never truly rest again. I still live alone, still work from home, still sit in the same corner of my living room. But now my door has 3 locks, a peephole camera, a security bar, and motion sensors. I never ignore a knock now, but I don't answer it either. Not unless I see a face I recognize. I don't care if it's rude. I don't care if people think I'm paranoid. I know better. Because I know what it's like to walk into your own home and realize it isn't yours anymore. That someone else has been breathing the same air, plotting, waiting, counting on you being too trusting. And I know what it feels like to survive because you came home 60 seconds too early. Every time I think about it, I get chills. And every time someone knocks on my door, the same thought whispers through my head. What if they're still out there? What if they're still trying doors? What if next time, someone else opens theirs? I hope they don't. I really do, because I know exactly how that story ends. I never expected the last weekend to sit inside my chest the way it still does, like a bruise I can't press without remembering every second of that night. Our senior year was slipping through our fingers, and with my parents away visiting family in Minnesota, the house was mine, completely mine. No rules, no noise, no footsteps in the hallway at night. It was supposed to be just me and my closest friend, someone who knew every version of me since grade school. But she suggested inviting another girl from school. I didn't really care. I just didn't want to spend the night overthinking things like I always do. She arrived first. She always walked like she owned every space she entered, shoulders loose, chin high. That kind of confidence you only see in people who've never been told no in their life. When the other girl showed up, she looked more bored than excited, kicking off her shoes and saying, "Damn, your place smells like those cinnamon candles." My mom buys that as too. My friend laughed. "I told you she's a neat freak." I smiled awkwardly because, yeah, I clean when I'm anxious. And I get anxious a lot. We spread blankets in my upstairs living room, plugged in colored lights, turned music low, and started talking about college, breakups, crappy teachers, all the usual. It felt normal, warm, the kind of night you think will end with giggles and stupid pictures posted online later. But everything shifted when my friend suddenly said, "You two are so boring right now." The other girl scoffed. "Yeah? Then make it fun." My friend's eyes shimmered in that reckless way that always scares me a bit. "I have an idea," she said, leaning forward like she was about to share a secret. "Are you guys familiar with the Ouija board thing?" My stomach tightened instantly. "You mean calling dead spirits?" I asked. The other girl rolled her eyes. "Jesus, how old are you?" "It's just a stupid board." My friend grinned. "It works, but you gotta concentrate." A piece of me whispered, "Don't do this." The same piece that warns me before something bad happens. Call it intuition or fear, both feel the same in my chest. But backing out around her? Impossible. I muttered, "But I don't have one." She shrugged. "I can make one. And God help me, I wish I had stopped her right there." She tore a piece of cardboard, glued white printer paper over it, and scribbled yes and no on the corners, letters in the center, numbers below. Goodbye at the bottom, even unfinished. Something about it felt wrong, like it didn't belong in my house. This looks kinda creepy, I said quietly. That's the point, she smirked. Get a glass. Before I could move, the other girl jumped up. I'll grab it. As she walked to the kitchen, my friend unzipped her backpack and pulled out a half-empty bottle of red wine. My eyes widened. Where did you get that? She winked. Borrowed it from home. She filled the glass almost to the top, took a long swallow, then offered it to the other girl when she returned. They both drank like they'd done this before. When they handed it to me, I hesitated. Come on, my friend nudged. It's one glass. Yeah, the other girl teased. Don't be a chicken. I hated how easily they made me feel small. So I drank it, my throat burning, my head warming. My friend turned off every light except the dim blue glow leaking from the hallway and the moonlight slicing through my blinds. She lit a candle between us, placed the glass upside down on the board, and whispered, Now we focus. We sat cross-legged around it, fingers lightly touching the base of the glass. Who are we calling? The other girl asked, smirking. I was thinking. My friend started, but the other girl cut her off. What about that girl from school? The one everyone made fun of. She moved away last year. What if, something happened to her? My friend burst out laughing. Oh my God, that girl was such a mess. I felt something twist in my chest, shame, guilt, something I didn't want to name. She didn't deserve the crap she got, I whispered. The other girl raised a brow. You getting soft on us? Before I could reply, my friend cleared her throat dramatically. Whatever, let's just call anyone listening. A chill crawled up my arms. My friend spoke slowly. If any spirit is here, can you hear us? The glass didn't move. She tried again. If any spirit is here, show us. Nothing. The other girl snorted. Wow, super haunted. My friend rolled her eyes. Shut up and focus. They both pressed down a bit harder. I kept my touch feather-light. I didn't want to influence anything. I didn't want this to work. My friend asked again, Is anyone here? For a moment, there was only the hum of the refrigerator downstairs and the faint rattle of branches against my window. Then, the glass twitched. We all froze. I didn't move it, I whispered. Neither did I, the other girl muttered, her voice much smaller than before. My friend's grin faltered. Maybe one of us. The glass scraped softly across the paper. Slow, uncertain. It moved to yes. My breath hitched. The other girl whispered. Holies. My friend swallowed. Okay. What's your name? The glass jerked away from our fingers so fast that it tapped the edge of the board. The candle flickered violently. I'm done, I said immediately, pulling back. No, my friend snapped. This is the good part. The glass slowly drifted back to the letters. 1 by 1 I S N O T M Y N A M E. The candle flame elongated, stretching unnaturally tall. What the hell does that mean? The other girl whispered, backing slightly away from the board. My friend forced a laugh. It means someone's messing with us. But I saw it in her eyes. She didn't believe her own words. The glass twitched again. I K N O W Y O U. My skin prickled. The other girl whispered, Stop. Seriously, stop. My friend tried to lift her fingers, but they wouldn't move. She gasped. What the? I'm not doing this. Her voice shook, her eyes wide with real fear now. I grabbed her wrist to pull her hand free, and the moment I did, the candle blew out. The entire room swallowed itself in darkness. The other girl screamed. What the F was that? My heart slammed so hard it felt like it was echoing in my ears. I scrambled for the flashlight on my side table, but before I could reach it, something cold brushed the back of my neck. Not wind fingers. Slow. Deliberate. I jerked forward with a strangled cry. Who's there? I whispered, though every bone in me already knew. Nothing human answers from the dark like that. My friend managed to flick on her phone flashlight. The beam shook violently in her trembling hand. "Look," she whispered. "The homemade board. The glass. Everything had slid 3 feet away from us. None of us had moved." The other girl started crying, wiping her face with her sleeve. "I told you this was stupid," she sobbed. "I told you both." My friend grabbed the board and tried ripping it apart, but the cardboard wouldn't tear. It bent but didn't split. "Why won't it break?" she whispered. I didn't answer. I grabbed the glass and threw it across the room. But it didn't shatter. It landed gently, unnaturally soft, like someone slowed its fall. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. We sat with the hallway light on, blankets wrapped around us, every creak of the house making us jump. By sunrise, the board was gone. We looked everywhere, under couches, behind furniture, inside closets. Gone. The glass? Gone too. My friend left first, refusing to talk about what happened. The other girl wouldn't even look at me. Neither of them has spoken to me since. But the worst part came last night, 4 days later, at exactly 3:12 a.m. While staring at the ceiling and trying to convince myself it was all a stupid trick, I heard it. A faint dragging sound from under my bed. Slow. Soft. Like cardboard sliding across carpet. Then a whisper so close to my ear I felt the breath. "I know you. I haven't slept since. I don't think I ever will peacefully again." I never thought a single stupid decision I made at 15 would become the one memory that still crawls under my skin, even now as an adult. People always say, teenagers do dumb things. Yeah, sure. But some dumb things don't just fade into funny stories later. Some stick like broken glass in your brain. Before I get into what happened that night, I need to explain a little about where I lived back then. I grew up in Ridgeton Heights, a quiet suburban neighborhood in Oregon, tree-lined streets, kids riding bikes, families grilling in their yards. That kind of place. The kind of neighborhood where people leave their garage doors open all evening without worrying. My parents always said it was the safest place to raise a kid. And honestly, I believed that. Back then, my world was small school, friends, and whatever nonsense drama came with being a teenager. My best friend was Harper, who lived like 4 blocks away. She was the kind of girl who always had some idea, some plan, some reason to sneak out or stay up late. She wasn't a bad kid, just way more daring than me. I was the anxious one, the rule follower. The kid who always asked, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" But that night, I didn't ask. My parents were going out to some anniversary dinner. My brother had a sleepover at his buddy's house, so I was home alone. I wasn't allowed to leave the house when they weren't home. So my plan was simple. Shower, pick a movie, relax. I had just changed into pajama shorts and an oversized hoodie when my phone buzzed. "Harper, what you doing?" Me, "Nothing. Home alone." "Harper, girl, come over. I'm bored as hell." Me, "Can't. My parents would murder me." "Harper, they ain't coming back for hours. Just walk. It's literally a straight shot." I stared at the message for a while. I knew I shouldn't, but I also knew Harper. If I didn't come, she'd keep blowing up my phone, whining dramatically until I gave in. And honestly, I was bored. So I changed into jeans and grabbed my light jacket, locked the door behind me, and started walking. It was around 8:40 p.m. Not too late, but dark enough that the streetlights had already flickered on. The air had that cool fall bite. The neighborhood was quiet. The kind of quiet where you can hear your own footsteps. Nothing weird happened on the way there. Nothing at all. I hung out at Harper's for maybe 2 hours. We ate microwave popcorn, talked trash about people from school, and messed around with dumb TikTok filters. Her parents weren't home either. They trusted her way more than they should have. At around 10:45, I checked the time. "Hey, I should go," I said, standing and brushing crumbs off my lap. "Already?" Harper groaned. "Stay another hour." "No way. My parents will be home at like 11:30. She rolled her eyes dramatically but hugged me anyway. "Text me when you get home, loser." "Will do." I walked out of her house, pulling my jacket tighter when the cold hit me. The neighborhood felt different at that hour, emptier, deeper somehow. But I wasn't scared. I walked this area every day. I knew it. That false sense of safety, it's what almost got me killed. I was maybe 2 minutes into my walk when I first heard it, the low hum of an engine behind me. Not close, not far, just there. I didn't look back at first. I figured it was someone heading home late. But after maybe 10 seconds, I realized something strange. The car wasn't passing me. It was crawling, matching my pace. My heartbeat kicked up. I tried to casually glance over my shoulder without looking scared or suspicious. All I could make out was a dark-colored sedan. The headlights were dim, almost yellowish. I couldn't see the driver at all. I turned the corner onto Elm Ridge Lane. The car turned too. A prickle went up my spine. Nope, I whispered to myself. Nope, nope, nope. I sped up. Not a run, just a faster walk. My palms were sweating, my throat tight. The car stayed behind me. When I reached the next intersection, I purposely turned onto a side street I didn't need to take. A tiny dead-end road. The car drove past me. I froze there for a second. Maybe it wasn't following me. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was being dramatic. But then, I saw the brake lights flash red. The car slowed, stopped, and then it reversed, back toward me. Oh God, I whispered. My legs moved on their own. I hurried out of the side street and back toward my own road. My house was only 4 houses down now. Close, so close. I grabbed my keys from my pocket. The car turned onto my street. I started running. I sprinted through my yard, nearly twisting my ankle on the edge of the walkway. Shoved the key into the lock with shaking hands. Missed twice, then managed to twist it open. I flung myself inside and slammed the door. Locked it, bolted it, double-checked it. Then I ran to the front window, heart still slamming against my ribs. The car rolled slowly into my driveway. My entire body went cold, like someone had dumped ice water down my back. The car stopped. The headlights washed across the front of the house. No one got out at first. 2 minutes passed, maybe 3. It felt like 30. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tallish, slight beard, longish dark hair, leather jacket. Couldn't see much else in the low light. He walked toward the house. I panicked and ducked away from the window, crawling behind the couch like a terrified little kid hiding from a monster. He knocked on the door. 3 firm knocks. I covered my mouth with both hands, trying not to make a sound. Another knock. Louder. He stood out there for what felt like forever, then finally walked away. I crawled to the window again. His car was still in the driveway. He sat inside it, engine rolling softly, not leaving. I kept thinking, why isn't he leaving? Why stop at my house? Why get out? Why knock? And then headlights appeared down the street. A second car. It slowed near our house. It was my parents'. The man reacted fast. He pulled out of the driveway so hard the tires squealed. Then he shot down the street, speeding away into the darkness. My parents pulled in, confused by the screech marks on the asphalt. I ran outside before they even opened their doors. What came out of my mouth was mostly panicked, babbling. There was a car. He followed me. He knocked. He parked. He wouldn't leave. My mom's face drained of color. My dad immediately pulled out his phone. We're calling the police. Get inside. I gave the officers everything. I remembered the car, the man, how he drove, which streets he took, but I couldn't remember the plate number. I never saw it. One officer nodded slowly and said, "Sounds like he was trying to see if anyone was home. When you didn't answer, he waited to see if he'd have an opportunity." I swallowed hard. To break in. He gave a half shrug that told me everything I didn't want to hear. "We'll patrol the area for a while." And then they left. Nothing ever came of it. No arrests. No updates. No explanation. Just a memory that never unstuck itself. I thought the trauma ended that night. But no trauma likes to wait for quiet moments before coming back. For years, I couldn't walk alone after dark. I slept with a chair wedged under my doorknob. Whenever a car slowed near me, my stomach dropped like I was falling off a cliff. And here's the part I never tell people. About a year after the incident, I was cleaning out a drawer in the kitchen. Under some old batteries and takeout menus, I found something. A small white card. A business card. It had no name. No company. Just a phone number. Written on the back, in sharp, messy handwriting. Saw you walking. Wanted to say hi. Jay. My blood ran cold. The handwriting wasn't familiar. My parents swore they had never seen it before. I knew exactly who it was from. The man. The car. The driveway. He had left a calling card. He had come back. To my house. I never told my parents about the card. They would have lost their minds, and honestly, I didn't want to relive any of it. I threw the card into the trash and shoved it deep under coffee grounds and crumpled paper towels so no one would see it. But I still think about it. If my parents had been 5 minutes later, if the man had been braver, if I had taken longer to unlock my door, there are a dozen ways the night could have ended differently, and none of them end with me writing this story. I never understood how a single evening, one normal, boring, forgettable Friday, could wedge itself so deep into a person's memory that it never leaves again. But that's exactly what happened to me the year I turned 14. If you asked anyone who knew me then, they'd say I was an average kid, quiet, lived in my head too much, always listening, rarely talking, an only child in a house that felt bigger than it needed to be. Before that night, I wasn't scared of being alone. After that night, I never looked at an unlocked door the same way again. I lived in a town called Pineford, Ohio, flat, quiet, predictable. Our street, Maplewick Lane, had old trees leaning over it like tired shoulders. Most families knew each other enough to wave, but not enough to ask how life was going. My parents, Dawn and Russell, worked long hours. Mom at a dental clinic, Dad in HVAC repair, which meant winter months felt like he practically lived in his work van. Being alone after school was normal, routine, expected. Most days were the same. I'd drop my backpack by the stairs, grab whatever food didn't require cooking, and disappear into my room until one of my parents got home. They trusted me, and I trusted the house. That trust ended on a Friday in late September. My parents had a company dinner across town. They'd told me 2 days earlier, "Mom, sweetheart, we'll be home late, probably around 10 or 10:30. Dad, you know the drill. Keep the door locked. Call if you need anything." Me? Yeah, I got it. Mom had left money on the kitchen counter, and like any teenager with poor nutritional judgment, I immediately planned on pizza. The one joy of being 14 and home alone was freedom from vegetables. School ended early that Friday. The weather was cool and gray, one of those evenings where the sky looks bruised. I got home, tossed my backpack, and went straight to my room. Video games, music, silence, just how I liked it. Around 7, hunger won. I ordered from Tony's Slice Shack, a small local place with uneven delivery times but insanely good crust. The delivery guy showed up 20 minutes later, middle-aged, beard, tired eyes. He didn't look at me much, just handed the box over and said, "Have a good night, bud." I paid him, stepped back inside, and here's the part that still haunts me. I closed the door with my foot, but I didn't hear the click of the lock turning. I didn't lock it. I just pushed it shut. One small mistake. That's all it takes sometimes. I went upstairs with the pizza, turned off the lights, and started gaming. The world outside my headphones didn't exist for a while. Until it did. It must have been around 8. My game was paused. My room was dark. The house was silent. Then, I heard the front door open. Not slam. Not crash. Just a slow, casual push. Like someone who had the right to be there. Like someone who lived there. My whole body snapped out of whatever relaxed state it was in. My first thought, Mom and Dad? But they wouldn't be home this early. And even if they were, they would have shouted something. My parents were loud people. But the real problem, I didn't hear a key. I didn't hear the lock. It just opened. Footsteps followed. Slow, steady, dragging slightly. Adult footsteps. Not the confident ones of my dad. Not the fast clicking ones of my mom. These were heavy. Measured. Like someone unfamiliar with the layout. My heart hammered. I didn't yell, didn't move, didn't breathe. I just listened. The footsteps reached the living room, paused, shifted direction, toward the stairs. My mouth went dry. I whispered to myself, no, 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 no. I could hear each step groaning under weight, one by one, closer, higher, slow, deliberate. The sound of someone who knew they weren't supposed to be there, but didn't care. My bedroom door was open about 10 inches. No lock, old hinges. It squeaked if touched. My room was pitch black except for the faint glow of the paused game. When the footsteps reached the top of the stairs, they paused again. The air felt heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. Then, the person walked into the hallway. Their shadow stretched across the carpet as they passed the night light plugged into the hallway outlet. I saw part of a leg, dark pants, work boots, tall. My breath hitched. The footsteps got closer, so close that the shadow crossed the narrow gap of my open door. I jerked my eyes away in fear. If he saw my face, it was over. If he heard the tiniest breath, it was over. He stopped directly in front of my door. I could hear his breathing. Slow, calm, not in a hurry. My heartbeat was so loud I was terrified he could hear it. He didn't move for several seconds. Minutes? It felt endless. Then, he walked away. No rush, just turned and headed back toward the stairs. Down each step. 1, 2, 3. Then the front door opened again, closed softly, and the house went silent. I waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5. Then I finally ran downstairs and locked the door. Every lock, every latch, every chain. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the deadbolt twice. I looked through the peephole. Nobody. I looked out the front window. Street empty. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I called my parents immediately. My voice cracked so badly my mom thought I was hurt. They rushed home. Dad checked every room with a wrench in his hand. Mom kept saying, "It's okay. It's okay. You're safe. You're safe." But I didn't feel safe. Not that night. Not for a long time. A week passed. Life pretended to return to normal. School, homework, fake smiles. But something happened on the 7th day. When I got home from school, the front door was locked, but the screen door was slightly open, only an inch, like someone had checked it, or someone had stood there. I asked my mom later, "Did you leave the screen door open this morning?" She said, "No, honey. Why would I?" I didn't tell her what I feared. 2 weeks later, the next event happened. On a Wednesday evening, around 5, while it was still light out, I heard the mailbox slam. Not softly, hard, like someone punching it shut. I waited a minute before checking. Inside was a folded piece of paper. My name wasn't on it. No address. Just plain white. I unfolded it. Inside was a short message. "Don't leave your door unlocked." That handwriting, shaky, rushed, made my skin crawl. I showed it to my dad. His jaw tightened. He called the police. The officer who came, a young guy named Officer L. Dorset, said, "Could be kids messing around, could be nothing. Just keep things locked and you'll be fine." I hated how easily adults dismissed fear, because I knew. The letter was from the man who entered my house. No prank kid knew I left the door unlocked. Nobody else knew what had happened. Nobody except him. 3 weeks after the letter, everything escalated. It was a Saturday. Cold, windy, leaves skidding across the pavement like tiny warnings. My parents had gone out again, this time for groceries. They'd be gone for an hour. I was in the kitchen grabbing a soda when I heard it. A faint, metallic sound. The front doorknob. Turning. Gently. Slowly. Testing. I froze. The door was locked. Thank God. The handle turned again. Then a man's voice, quiet, calm, like someone speaking through their teeth. "You locked it this time." Every hair on my body stood up. My skin went cold. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. My hands trembled so badly the soda can slipped from my grip and rolled across the tile. The doorknob stopped. Silence. Then footsteps. Light, controlled footsteps. Moving off my porch. I didn't dare look through the peephole. Not that time. I waited until my parents came home before I moved from the kitchen. When my dad checked the porch, he found something. A key. Not ours. A single old brass key lying on the welcome mat. We never figured out what it belonged to. We never saw the man again. But I will never forget his voice. Calm, unhurried, like he wasn't angry, wasn't frustrated, just watching, just waiting, just checking. We moved out of that house the next summer. My parents said it was just time for a change, but I saw the look in my dad's eyes when he double-checked the locks every night after that. He knew, even if he didn't say it. And sometimes, when I'm alone in my new place, and I catch myself checking the deadbolt twice, and then a third time, I hear that quiet voice in my mind. You locked it this time. I never thought one sleepover, just one stupid night, would scar the rest of my life. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd end up living with insomnia, avoiding dark hallways, and jumping at every soft creak of a door, I would have laughed it off. But trauma doesn't show up with a warning. It slips in quietly, like cold air through an open window. And by the time you notice, it's already inside. That night started normally. Too normally, maybe. Sometimes real horror hides behind the most ordinary beginnings. My name is Lila Grant. 17. Senior year. Average grades. Average life. But my best friend, one of the only people who actually understood me, was Rowan Blake. A girl whose personality was the kind of loud that could drown out your thoughts and the kind of warm that made everyone feel welcomed. The third person in our trio was Jules Carter, the kind of girl who always thought she was braver than she truly was. This story isn't about them, though. Not fully. It's about her. The girl everyone in our school only referred to as Mad Girl Mara. No last name, no identity, just a label. And labels hurt more than knives. Mara used to be quiet, chubby, messy hair, baggy clothes, the kind of girl who walked with her shoulders caved in like she was trying to disappear. Nobody talked to her unless it was to laugh at her. Nobody sat with her. Nobody helped her pick her books when someone accidentally knocked them out of her hands. She was bullied every single day. But the teachers, like most teachers in underfunded American suburban schools, acted clueless. Kids will be kids, they'd say. Then one day, someone took a picture of Mara changing in the girls' locker room. Bare skin, vulnerable, terrified. The photo spread like a virus. Group chats, private snaps, even burner accounts. The next morning, she didn't come to school. By noon, the rumor started. By evening, everyone knew. She'd been found in the girls' restroom, collapsed on the floor, a bottle of household bleach beside her, and blood spreading beneath her from coughing until her organs tore. That image stuck, even though I never saw it. The description alone haunted me. The school held a 30-second moment of silence. People cried for a day or two. T-shirts were printed, candles lit, posters made. Everyone pretended to care. And then, like every tragedy in public schools, she became a memory that nobody wanted to talk about, except some kids whispered at times. She haunts the girls' bathroom. Her crying echoes in the hallways if you stay after 7 p.m. She hates the girls who laughed at the photo. She hates everyone. The rumor that stuck the most? Mad Girl Mara doesn't rest. She wants answers. Rowan lived in a quiet part of Rose Hill, a small American town with too many pawn shops, not enough streetlights, and more abandoned buildings than people wanted to admit. Her house was old, creaky, and honestly felt haunted even before that night. Rowan's parents were away for the weekend in Seattle, and Rowan never wasted a kid-free house. She'd planned a sleepover with snacks, horror movies, and, apparently, enough Red Bull to kill a small horse. I reached her house around 8:10 p.m. Rowan opened the door with her bright grin. Finally. Leela, I thought you died or something. You texted me literally 10 minutes ago. I laughed, stepping inside. The house smelled like popcorn and vanilla candles. Cozy, safe, normal. Jules sat on the couch scrolling through her phone, hair in a messy bun. Sup, she said without looking up. Sup? I mirrored. The TV was paused on a horror movie. Rowan had picked some low-budget ghost film with bad acting. Rowan clapped her hands suddenly. Okay, before we get into the movie marathon, I have a fun idea. I groaned. Define fun. Rowan smirked wickedly. We're doing a seance. Nope, I said instantly. Jules rolled her eyes. Oh, come on, Lila. You're such a chicken. It's not real. I'm not scared. I'm just not into messing with dead people. Rowan raised a brow. Even if it's just to ask something small. What? Like? She lowered her voice. Let's ask if the rumors about Mara are true. My stomach dropped. Rowan, don't, I whispered. That's not funny. She shrugged. It's not supposed to be funny. It's just curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat, I muttered. And satisfaction brought it back, Jules said with a smirk. I should have left right then. I swear on everything I should have. Because that one stupid decision, to sit down at that table, changed everything. Rowan turned off all the lights except one dim lamp in the corner. The shadows stretched across the room like long fingers. She lit 3 candles, pulled out a cheap wooden board she'd bought online, placed a glass cup upside down in the center. Okay, Rowan whispered theatrically. Everyone place your index finger lightly on top. Jules laughed nervously. Dude, you sound like one of those TikTok witches. Shut up and do it. I hesitated, but eventually placed my finger on the glass. Rowan inhaled dramatically. Close your eyes. Focus. Jules snorted. This is dumb. Shh, Rowan said. Think about Mara. Think about her face. I hadn't seen her face in months, but I remembered pieces her trembling hands, her red eyes from crying, the sadness in her posture. Rowan started chanting softly. Mara, if you're out there, talk to us. Silence. Then, Mara, are you here? Nothing. We waited. Still nothing. Jules yawned exaggeratedly. Okay, bored now. Something cold moved across my neck. Not like a breeze, not like someone blowing. This was colder than ice. Sharp, needle-like. I opened my eyes. Rowan, did you just... Rowan was staring at me wide-eyed. What? I didn't even move. Jules laughed. Oh my God, Leela, you're so jumpy, relax. But there was something else. A sound. Very faint at first. A soft, muffled crying. Rowan froze. Jules stopped laughing. I whispered, You guys hear that? Don't mess around, Rowan said, voice tight. It's not me. Jules whispered, trembling slightly. The crying grew louder, closer, clearer. Rowan, I whispered. Turn the lights on. She didn't move. The crying shifted, down the hall, toward Rowan's room. Guys, Jules breathed. Please tell me this is a joke. This isn't funny anymore, I whispered. As the crying grew louder, something scraped the hallway floor. Slow, dragging, like someone pulling their feet. Rowan whispered, barely audible. Oh my God. She's coming down the hall. We all stood up abruptly. Turn the lights on, I yelled. Rowan fumbled for the switch. But the moment she reached up, the crying stopped. Everything fell silent. My heart pounded so loud, I thought it might echo. Then, the bedroom door in the hallway creaked open. Slow. Too slow. We stared at the darkness beyond. Nothing moved. But the darkness, it didn't look normal. It looked thick, like ink or smoke. Like a place where light didn't exist. Jules whispered, What is that? And then Rowan whispered, trembling, Look at the board. The glass was moving. None of us were touching it. It slid across the wood with small scratching sounds. Rowan gasped. Holy. The glass spelled Y-P-S. Rowan grabbed my hand. We need to end this. We need to move it to goodbye. But Jules leaned closer and whispered, Mara, who hurt you the most? Jules, I shouted. Shut up. Before Rowan could touch the glass, she was flung backward, like a violent gust of air hit her. Her body slammed against the wall, then onto the floor. She screamed. My arm. Oh my God, my arm. Her wrist was bent at a horrifying angle. Jules covered her mouth. Rowan, holy shit. The glass moved again. Letter by letter. S. K. Y. L. R. My blood ran cold. Skylar Reeves. The girl who took Mara's locker room picture. A girl who had switched schools right after Mara died. Oh my God, Jules whispered. Does that mean? The hallway darkness pulsed. Literally pulsed. Like a heartbeat. And then, 2 eyes appeared in the darkness. Not glowing. Not human. Just empty red holes staring at us with no blinking. Jules fainted instantly. Rowan whimpered, clutching her broken wrist. Please, please, we're sorry, we didn't mean to. The eyes drifted toward her. Rowan screamed, Lila, don't let her, please. I grabbed Rowan and pulled her toward the kitchen doorway, dragging her stumbling body behind me. Footsteps followed. Slow. Wet. Uneven. The crying started again, louder now, like she was in the same room as us. I whispered, voice cracking. Rowan, keep walking, keep walking. I'm sorry. Rowan sobbed. I didn't mean to say her name, I didn't know, oh God. I pulled her into the pantry and shut the door. We collapsed on the floor, breathing heavily. In the dark, Rowan whispered, Lila, what if she wants us next because we asked? I grabbed her hand. We're gonna survive this, I promise. But the crying outside turned into laughter. Sharp, broken, wet, like her lungs were still filled with bleach. Rowan covered her ears. Stop, stop, please stop. The footsteps approached the pantry door. I held my breath. A shadow shifted beneath the crack of the door. Her whisper came through. Lila. My blood froze. Come out. The door handle began to turn very slowly. I grabbed Rowan. We run when she opens it. Rowan whimpered. What if she kills us? I looked into her eyes. She already knows where we are. Running is our only chance. The handle twisted all the way. The door cracked open. Darkness spilled in, but no one stood there. I grabbed Rowan, pulled her out, and we ran across the kitchen. But then, Jules' voice echoed weakly from the living room. Lila. We stopped. Rowan, I whispered. She's awake. Something wasn't right. Jules' voice didn't sound normal. It sounded wet, like she was choking on something. Jules? I called. I walked forward slowly. Rowan grabbed my shirt. Don't please, something's wrong. But I stepped closer. Then I saw Jules lying on the floor, eyes wide open, mouth dripping thick black liquid, her chest moving like someone was pushing from the inside. Rowan screamed behind me. The black liquid gurgled in Jules' throat. Then Jules spoke, but the voice wasn't hers. Skylar Reeves. She's next. Jules' body jerked violently, then went still. Rowan fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. No. I grabbed her shoulders. We need to leave. Now. We ran toward the front door, but it slammed shut on its own. Hard. Then every window slammed shut one by one, like something was running outside the walls. Rowan screamed, Let us out. Please. The crying started again, closer than ever. I whispered, Rowan, behind me. We backed up slowly. The red eyes appeared again by the hallway. Only this time, a silhouette formed around them. A girl. Short, hunched, wet hair hanging down. Skin grayish-white, dripping like she crawled out of a drain. She stepped closer. I whispered, voice trembling, Mara, please. Rowan sobbed. We're sorry, we're so sorry. Mara cocked her head slowly, bones cracking in her neck. You called me. Her voice was layered like multiple versions of her speaking from different distances. You wanted answers. Rowan fell to the floor, shaking. Please don't hurt us. Mara stepped closer, her wet feet making sticky sounds against the wooden floor. You want truth? I swallowed hard. Yes. She stepped so close I could smell the bleach on her skin. Skylar made me want to die. She leaned forward until her face was inches from mine. But you, She looked at Rowan. "You laughed once." Rowan gasped. No, I didn't. I swear I didn't laugh at the picture, please." Mara raised her hand. Her fingers stretched unnaturally long. "Mara," I whispered. "Please. She's sorry. She's really sorry." Mara didn't blink. "Sorry is what people say." Right before doing it again, Rowan screamed, "Leela, help me." Mara lunged. I tackled Rowan to the side just as Mara's hand slammed into the wall, cracking it open. We ran. Upstairs. Into Rowan's parents' room. Locked the door. Pushed a dresser in front of it. Rowan cried hysterically. We're gonna die, oh my God." "No," I said, "not tonight." The crying started again, right outside the door. Then, tap, 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 her long nails on the wood. Rowan whispered, "Lila." She's scratching the door. The tapping grew louder, faster, desperate. The door shuddered violently. A crack formed in the top. Mara whispered from the other side, "Lila, only one of you gets to live." My heart stopped. Rowan whispered, "No, no." Mara continued, "Choose." "No," I screamed. "I won't choose. Choose. Or I choose for you." Rowan grabbed my arm, sobbing uncontrollably. "Lila, please, please don't leave me." I hugged her tightly. I would never. The door exploded inward. The dresser flew aside. Mara crawled inside the room like a spider, her limbs bending at grotesque angles. Rowan screamed. Mara raised her hand. I stepped in front of Rowan, tears streaming. "If someone has to die," I whispered, "take me." Mara froze. Her red eyes dimmed slightly. Then, for a split second, I saw the real Mara, a scared girl, alone, hurt, begging for help she never received. She whispered, "No one ever chose me." I whispered, "I'm choosing you." She paused. Then slowly, her figure dissolved into smoke-like darkness and vanished. The room fell silent. No crying, no footsteps, nothing. I collapsed to the floor, shaking violently. Rowan sobbed into my shoulder. "Lila, is she gone?" I didn't answer, because deep inside, I knew she wasn't. Some things don't leave. Some spirits stay attached to the people who finally acknowledge them. And Mara, she wasn't done. Not with us. Not with Skylar Reeves. Not with anyone who ever hurt her. And every night now, even a year later, when I close my eyes, I hear a soft crying near my bedroom door. A crying that gets louder and louder until I whisper, "I chose you, Mara. Please, don't choose me next." But I know one day, she will. I never thought a rented house could change the way I sleep forever. When I first moved to North Briarfield, a quiet suburb 20 minutes outside Albany, I thought I'd finally found a place where I could breathe again. After everything that happened with my dad's accident, my mom moving across states, and me trying to handle life on my own for the first time, I needed somewhere calm, somewhere where no one knew me, somewhere I didn't have to pretend I was okay. The house I rented belonged to an older woman named Mrs. Harlow, a chatty lady with too much perfume and a habit of calling everyone sweetheart. It was a single-story home, beige siding, white porch railing, and a backyard about the size of 2 parking spaces. It wasn't fancy, but it felt safe. At least, it did at first. I was 24 back then, working remotely for a small insurance auditing company. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid my rent, and after the chaos my life had been the last few years, I was grateful for anything stable. My dad passed when I was 18, car wreck. My mom never fully recovered from the grief and moved in with my aunt in Nevada. I tried to stay strong, but honestly, I was crumbling. Living alone felt like a fresh start. Every week I'd cook myself dinner, clean up, handle my work, sometimes watch late-night shows until I couldn't keep my eyes open. Normal life. Quiet life. I didn't know that quiet doesn't always mean safe. It was a Thursday, one of those weirdly warm fall evenings where the air feels heavy but calm. I had logged off work late around 8:15 p.m. because one of the client files was being a pain, and my manager, Lacey, kept messaging me, "Hey, can you send that in tonight? Just one more adjustment. Sorry. Last thing, I promise." I remember sighing loudly and muttering under my breath, "Yeah, sure. I don't need a life or anything." By the time I shut my laptop, my shoulders were tight and my stomach was rumbling. Cooking always helped me unwind, so I slipped into some comfortable clothes, tied my hair, and walked into the kitchen. The house always felt coziest at night, dim lights, soft hum of the fridge, the window above the sink showing the faint glow of porch lights from the homes behind mine. Nothing scary, nothing strange, just a regular night, until I heard the knock. It wasn't loud, just a tap tap. Tap, enough to make me pause while chopping onions. I remember whispering to myself, "Who the hell is that at this time?" It was almost 9. Nobody visits neighbors at 9, especially in a neighborhood where people barely talk beyond small smiles as they bring in groceries. I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and slowly approached the front of the house. I didn't open the door, no way. Instead, I peeked through the narrow window beside it. A man stood on the small porch step, hood up, hands in pockets, head lowered slightly like he didn't want to be seen. Something about the way he stood felt wrong. Not drunk wrong, not lost wrong, but purposefully still, like he was waiting for me to move the curtain. My breath caught in my throat. I whispered, "Nope, not doing this." I backed away quietly, but as soon as my foot touched the hallway floor, ding dong, the doorbell rang, loud, clear, sharp. My heart jumped. "Okay, no thanks," I muttered, shaking my head like a nervous habit. I walked back to the kitchen, trying to shake it off. But then, knock, knock, knock. 3 slow thuds. I gripped the counter. "Dude, go home," I whispered. The knock stopped, and after a few minutes of silence, I convinced myself he left. But I should have known better. 5 minutes later, I had just reached for the frying pan when something moved in my peripheral vision. A shadow. I turned, and there he was, right outside my kitchen window. My backyard was fenced. Nobody could accidentally walk there. The man stepped closer and pressed his hand to the glass lightly like he was checking something. Then he lifted his head and stared right at me. Our eyes locked. His face was partly shadowed by the hood, but I saw his mouth twist slightly like he was amused by something. Then, tap. He tapped the glass with one knuckle. "Jesus Christ!" I yelped and stumbled backward. He didn't look startled. He didn't look confused. He looked like he was waiting for my reaction. I grabbed my phone, hands trembling, ready to dial 911. But suddenly he stepped back into the darkness and disappeared, like he melted into the night. I waited, counted seconds, walked to the window slowly. He was gone. I checked the backyard lights, checked the hallway windows. Nothing. "Okay." He left. I whispered shakily. I should have called the police then, but fear and logic don't always line up. I convinced myself it was a misunderstanding, maybe some drunk idiot from the block behind. I went back to my food, trying to steady my breathing. For the rest of the night, nothing happened, or so I thought. I fell asleep around 11:30, the kind of heavy sleep where you drop instantly because your mind is exhausted. But something woke me sharply, something subtle. My eyes snapped open, and I just knew someone was nearby. I looked at my phone. 1 a.m. Great, I muttered softly. Still hours to sleep. I adjusted my pillow to lie back down. But then, movement. Outside the window. A silhouette drifting across my backyard, slow and dragging. I froze. "No way. No freaking way," I whispered. I got up, walked closer to the window in small steps. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my teeth. It was him. Same hood, same slow pace, same eerie posture. He wasn't confused. He wasn't looking around like a lost person. He was heading straight toward the kitchen window again. I grabbed my phone immediately and dialed 911. The operator answered. 911. "What is your emergency?" My voice shook. There's a man in my backyard. He came earlier tonight too. He's back again. I'm alone. Is he attempting to enter the home? He's walking toward the window. I don't know what he wants. Okay, stay on the line. Officers are being dispatched now. I backed into the hallway, keeping distance from the windows. I didn't hear footsteps, didn't hear glass, didn't hear anything. Just silence, and that silence was worse. Within 2 minutes, red and blue lights bounced across my walls. 2 officers entered the backyard with flashlights. One yelled, "Sir, stop right there." My stomach twisted. They found him. But I didn't hear a struggle. I didn't hear running. Just muffled conversation. After a few minutes, one officer came to my front door and spoke to me. "Ma'am, we located the individual. He claims he's lost." I stared at him like he'd spoken a different language. "Lost? In my fenced backyard? At 1 in the morning?" The officer shrugged with a tight sigh. He says he thought this was his friend's place. Says he knocked earlier to see if he was home. He tapped on my kitchen window. Nobody does that if they're lost. We issued a trespassing warning. If he comes back, call us immediately. So you're not taking him in? He hasn't committed a chargeable crime. Unless he tries to break in or harm you, legally we can't do much. I wanted to scream. The officer added, "We told him to avoid this property. If he returns, he'll be arrested. Try to get some rest." "Yeah," I said. "Right." They left, and the house felt colder than it did before. He didn't come back that night, but something changed inside me. You don't wake up at 1 a.m. and see someone pacing through your backyard and just go back to normal. For weeks after, I kept checking my windows. I started sleeping with a heavy flashlight beside the bed. Every noise at night made my chest tighten, but I thought it was over. Then one day, 3 weeks later, I found something. A small folded piece of paper wedged between my side gate and the fence. My stomach dropped even before I opened it. Inside, written in messy, uneven handwriting, "You look scared. Cute." My knees nearly buckled. That wasn't a lost man. That wasn't confusion. He left a note. He had come back, quietly, without getting caught. I called the police again. They searched the area but found nothing. I spent the next month living like a ghost in my own home. Lights off, windows locked, curtains always drawn. Every time I walked past a window, I imagined him standing on the other side, watching, waiting. It happened on a Sunday at around 11:10 p.m. I had just finished a video call with my mom. She told me, "Honey, you sound tired. Are you sleeping okay?" I lied and said yes. I was washing a mug when I heard it creak from the backyard. My hands turned to ice. I slowly stepped toward the kitchen window, but not too close, just enough to peek through the side of the curtain. He was there, closer than ever, standing inches from the window, not moving, just staring. This time his hood was down. I saw his face, thin, pale, eyes too wide, lips pressed together like he was fighting a smile. Then he whispered something. I couldn't hear it through the glass, but I could see the shape of his mouth. "Open the door." I staggered back, chest tight, breath gone. No, no, no. I ran to the front of the house and dialed 911 so fast I nearly dropped my phone. The operator's voice was firm. "Stay on the line. Officers are en route." But then, bang, the back door shook violently. Not once, but repeatedly. Bang, bang, bang. He was trying to break it. I screamed, "Please hurry. He's trying to get in." The banging stopped abruptly. Then, footsteps, fast ones, coming toward the front of the house. I pressed myself behind the couch, heart slamming against my ribs. A shadow moved past the front window. Then the door handle. Rattle, rattle, rattle. He was trying the lock. Because now I understand something I never understood before. Monsters aren't supernatural. They don't crawl out of TVs or hide under beds. Monsters wait, quietly, patiently, in the dark places you don't look. And sometimes, they stand inside your closet, just 10 feet from where you sleep, for days, without making a sound. I never imagined the safest place in my life would eventually feel like a trap I built for myself. That's the thing about danger, it doesn't always look like danger until you're already inside it, and the exit has quietly closed behind you. My name is Ayla Corbin, and before any of this happened, I was just normal. Painfully, boringly normal. The kind of person who pays rent early, listens to true crime podcasts while cleaning, and keeps leftover pizza in the fridge just in case. Back then, I thought I understood fear. I had no idea. I was 27, working as a claims processor for a mid-sized insurance company in Louisville. A job nobody dreams of, but everyone tolerates because it pays well enough and doesn't kill you. About a year earlier, I had moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Brookline Crest, one of those beige suburban complexes where every building looks identical, every stairwell smells like old carpet, and every tenant pretends they aren't listening when someone else argues in the hallway at 2 a.m. I used to share the place with my former coworker, Riley, but she moved out fast after landing a boyfriend who believed women shouldn't pay rent as long as they look pretty. Her phrasing, not mine. When she left, I thought about moving too, but the thought of packing everything, changing addresses, switching utility accounts again. So I stayed, signed the lease alone, turned the second bedroom into my office, even though it was more of a junk zone with storage bins, dusty boxes, and a closet I barely opened unless I needed to shove something inside. Life was simple. Wake up, commute, work, gym if I felt responsible, shower, TV, sleep, repeat. Not perfect, not terrible, just life. Then came the breakup. His name was Wyatt, and we had spent 3 years together, enough time for him to memorize all my coffee orders, but somehow not enough to understand what I needed emotionally. I just feel like you shut down, he told me during our last conversation. You make everything dramatic. I shot back. He grabbed a suitcase. I watched him leave. After that, the apartment got too quiet. I filled the silence with Netflix, podcasts, music, anything to avoid hearing my own thoughts. But silence finds a way back, especially when something else is listening. It was a Thursday night in early December, cold, still, boring. No rain, no thunder, just that dry winter air that smells like metal. I got home around 6:45 p.m., set my keys on the counter, and kicked off my boots. I'd picked up a burger from a place called Hank's Diner, tossed my coat on the couch, and turned on a comfort movie, the kind I'd watched 100 times to avoid thinking. I remember unwrapping my food, scrolling Instagram, then flipping through old photos I should have deleted months ago. Nothing special. Then it happened. Clack, thump, skitter. 3 sounds. Fast. Like something fell over hard. I froze. My hand literally stopped halfway to my fries. At first, I told myself exactly what anyone would. It's nothing. Someone upstairs dropped something. Thin walls. Happens all the time. I muted the TV. Silence. Heavy silence. Like the air was waiting. The sound had come from down the hall. Maybe my office. Maybe inside the closet. My chest tightened. Nope, I whispered. We're not doing this. But my brain had already started the what-ifs. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes arguing with myself. Go check. No. You're being dramatic. Stop it. You won't sleep if you don't look. Fine. Finally, I stood up. My bare feet felt too loud on the hardwood as I walked toward the hallway. I flipped on the light. It buzzed for a second, just long enough to piss me off. The office door was cracked open. Had it been like that earlier? I pushed it wider with 2 fingers. It smelled stale in there, dust, cardboard, old winter coats. Nothing unusual, but something felt off. Like the air was thicker. Everything looked normal. The desk with receipts and sticky notes. The piles of bins I hadn't sorted in months. The shelves leaning with holiday decorations. Nothing moved. I let out a breath. See? You're paranoid, Isla, I whispered. Then I grabbed the closet doorknob. It was cold. Too cold. Like no one had touched it in ages. I swallowed, whispered, "Please be nothing," and opened it. And instantly, my entire body went numb. There was a man standing inside my closet. Not crouching, not hiding, just standing, facing me. His hair was greasy, his jacket filthy, his eyes wide like he'd been living underground. He didn't look angry or panicked, just startled, like I was the one intruding. For maybe half a second, we stared at each other. Then he whispered, "Don't," but I didn't let him finish. My scream wasn't even loud, it came out as a broken breath, but I turned and ran so fast I nearly slammed into the hallway wall. Barefoot, heart exploding, vision blurry. I yanked open the front door and sprinted into the hallway, grabbing my phone like it was glued to my hand. My fingers shook so much I screwed up the 911 number twice. When the dispatcher answered, my voice came out in gasps. Hey, hi, there's someone. My closet, my apartment. He's in my apartment, please." I kept pacing the hallway, dizzy, crying without realizing it. Everything felt unreal, like I had stepped into someone else's nightmare. The dispatcher kept talking. "Stay where you are, ma'am. Help is on the way. Don't go back inside. You're doing great." I wasn't doing great. I felt like my bones were vibrating. It took the police 6 minutes to arrive. It felt like a lifetime. 2 officers went into my apartment. I held my breath. The hallway was too quiet. I thought maybe he'd vanished, or maybe he'd attacked them. Then, got him. Hands behind your back. He was still there, still in the closet, still silent. They brought him out in handcuffs. He didn't fight, didn't struggle, didn't speak, but his eyes locked onto me with this blank, hollow stare, like he was memorizing me. I stepped back automatically. One officer asked me, "Ma'am, you okay? Did he hurt you?" I couldn't even answer. I was shaking too hard. They told me he refused to explain how he got inside, how long he'd been there, or why he chose my apartment. That part broke something in me. Movies lie. Trauma doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in slowly, after the danger is gone. When the cops left, I sat alone on the hallway carpet, hugging my knees, trying not to collapse. My neighbor walked by and asked, "You good?" I nodded. Lie. Everything inside me was shattered. The next morning, the police called for more questions. "Did you know him?" "No." "Did you notice anything missing?" "No." "Any signs of forced entry?" "No." "Did you leave the door unlocked?" "I don't think so." "Think so?" The detective repeated gently. That question started a war inside my head. Did I? Did I lock it? Did I forget just once? Could someone really walk in that easily? I changed all my locks that afternoon, bought cameras, installed an alarm system, but I couldn't sleep. Every creak made me jump. Every shadow felt wrong. Every closet door felt like a threat. I moved a chair against my bedroom door. I slept with the lights on. I showered with the bathroom door open. And still, the fear wound around my thoughts like barbed wire. 2 weeks later, a detective showed up at my apartment again. He had a clipboard and a tired face. "We analyzed the scene," he said. "Found some items you should know about." My stomach dropped. "What items?" "Empty food wrappers, water bottles, some wrappers tucked behind storage bins in the office closet." My mouth went dry. "What are you saying?" He hesitated, looked at me carefully. "It appears he may have been in there for a while." "A while?" "Define a while." "We're not certain. Could be a day, could be longer." I felt like someone poured ice water down my spine. "More than one night?" Another hesitation. "It's possible." "Possible?" Meaning, he could have been living in my closet while I slept 10 feet away, while I changed clothes, while I cried after the breakup, while I cooked dinner, while I talked on the phone, while I lived my life completely unaware. That knowledge buried itself deep inside me. That's when I stopped staying at the apartment. I rotated between my sister's place, a friend's house, and cheap hotels. Anywhere with people. Anywhere that wasn't the building where a stranger silently shared my oxygen. I couldn't enter the office for months because every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face in the dark. Eventually, the lease ended. I went back to pack my stuff in broad daylight, sun high, door open, neighbors around. I made sure it was impossible for anything to hide. But even then, every time I walked down the hallway, I kept glancing at the closet. The last box I packed was from the office. I stood in front of the closet door one final time. My hand hovered over the knob. "It's empty," I whispered. "It's over." I opened it slowly. Nothing but hangers, dust, and an empty corner. Still, my heart hammered. Before leaving, I whispered into the closet stupidly, quietly. "Why my place? Why me?" Of course, nothing answered. Nothing ever does. Real horror doesn't give explanations. Real horror leaves you with questions you carry for the rest of your damn life. As I shut the closet door, it creaked. A long, slow groan. And something in my chest tightened in a way I can't explain. Not fear. Not panic. Recognition. Like some part of me knew the apartment would always hold his shadow. I moved across town. Different locks. Different neighborhood. Different life. But some habits never left. I sleep with my bedroom door locked. I double-check every closet. I keep the hallway light on. I don't watch TV with the volume too loud. I don't let silence settle for too long. The operator said, "Officers should be turning onto your street now." Seconds felt like hours. Then, silence. No footsteps. No rattling. Nothing. I didn't dare move. Not until flashing lights poured in. The police searched the entire property. They didn't find him, but they did find something near the kitchen window. A single handprint smeared across the glass, and written beneath it with something dark, almost muddy. "Next time you'll open it." I moved out within a week. Didn't pack half my stuff. Didn't care. I've changed states since then. Got a new job. New place. New locks. New life. But I still wake up sometimes around 1 a.m. And every time I walk past a window, I can't help but look, just to make sure no one is standing there, waiting, watching, wanting me to open the door.